Hello everyone and welcome to our 11th edition of Impulse Talks live from Paris. We are really glad to have you with us here today to talk about Smart City. As you are now starting to be aware, our ambition with the Impulse Talks session is to provide an international overview of innovation and how tech is developing in construction and beyond. Each month we are featuring some of our best startups along with testimonies from industry leaders and perspectives from venture capital investors covering topics such as digital construction, Industry 4.0 and, as is the case today, Smart City. A quick reminder to please turn off your microphones and cameras to make sure this session can run as smoothly as possible. And for your information, the session is being recorded. Before introducing our speakers today, a few quick words about Impulse Partners. At Impulse, we are passionate about innovation in construction, smart cities and industry. We know that these are some of the biggest sectors in the world. However, they remain largely under-optimised because they're highly fragmented, ruled by local regulations and unable to globally address the environmental and productivity challenges. We are convinced that there's a huge opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurs in those fields, and that they can help reshape the industry and improve efficiency and sustainability. Our role is to help detect the most promising startups and to connect them with the market. We act as a third party and as a facilitator between industry players, startups and investors. We work with many of the largest names and industry leaders in our focus sectors and more than 650 startups, which we have helped accelerate in their go-to market. Part of our job is to bring people together all across the value chain and across geographies. This is exactly what we'll be doing today, given how diverse the audience is. We are glad to gather people from all over the world on such an interesting topic here today. One last thing before we start, you will receive a link to a questionnaire right now. You can also flash the QR code, which is on the screen, and it will be sent in the chat. It's just a short questionnaire, so you can give us your feedback after the event, and you can tell us if you'd like to be put in touch with any of the startups. We've done many introductions in the past, and we're happy to keep doing the same. So a few words about our goal today. We're going to talk about innovation in Smart City. We have qualified Smart City through 5 axes: sustainability, mobility, resilience, citizen inclusion, and frugality. On each of these dimensions, there are different kinds of innovations and tech that can have impacts on cities. The idea is to help startups develop and to test their impact through and in collaboration with the public sector, corporates, and citizens. Because each of these players have a role to play in urban development, we are convinced that these players in the value chain can be impacted by what's happening in smart cities innovation. All of them have the responsibility to evaluate the potential of those innovations and to collaborate to develop them. So coming up today, we'll hear from Yuan from Arcadis and the company's initiatives regarding smart cities, such as Arcadis City of 2030 and Arcadis Gen. Then we'll hear Rikesh from Transport for London and the innovation challenges they face in London public transport system. We'll also hear a pitch from 4 entrepreneurs from Italy, Israel, England and the US. And to finish, we'll have a few minutes at the end for a Q&A session, and please use chat to type your questions. Without further ado, let's start the 11th edition of Impulse Talks dedicated to Smart City. I'm glad to welcome Yuan from Arcadis, a global design, engineering and management consulting company based in Amsterdam. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat and we'll bring them up at the end if we have time.
Great. Well, thank you for the introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, can you hear me?
I see that your microphone is deactivated, but we don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Great. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I'm from Arcadis and my name is Yuan Shi. If you don't mind, could you please go? Yes. So I am the global solution leader for new mobility, focusing on innovations and technologies in transportation and smart cities. And here today, I'd love to share some of our strategies and innovation programs from Arcadis with you all. And a quick overview of who we are. As quickly introduced before, we are a global design and consulting firm for natural and built assets. And we are mainly focusing in 3 categories. So buildings, urban environment, infrastructure, and environment and water. And we are actively operating in 70 countries. Next slide, please. As you can see from this map, we have a global reach, and our headquarters is in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and we have 70,000 professionals worldwide. Next slide, please. The first thing I want to share today is about our 2021 to 2023 strategy, which just launched this year. So there are 4 mega trends we identified as the key influencer for our industry, for our clients, and also for our services. The first one is urbanization. The second one is climate change. The third one is digitalization, and the fourth is societal expectations, meaning we need to be human-centric and we need to consider from user experiences for everything we do. So with these 4 mega trends in mind, we identify the 3 growth engines for our company. Next slide, please. So it's the 3 pillars in the middle of this slide. The first one is sustainable solutions. So sustainability should be in the heart, be in the core of everything we do, and it's embedded in the process. It's embedded in all the decisions we make for ourselves or also for our clients. And the second thing is about a digital leadership. So this is about how we can innovate ourselves and how we can partner with our ecosystem partners, including startups, including industrial lead in the tech domain, as well as in the consulting engineering space as us. And the third is about focus and scale. We have 3 focus business area: resilience, places, and mobility. And these 3 are the key focus area, and we're gonna scale our knowledge and skill sets across regions. So for instance, our resilience experiences knowledge from Netherlands can be transported to North America, and the smart city trends we've seen in Asian markets can also be transported to Australia or Europe. So that is the type of scalability we are pursuing. Next slide, please. With that strategy in mind, I also want to introduce a couple of programs. The first one is called City of 2030 Accelerator. It's an incubator program. We are partnering with Techstars. So every year we invited 10 companies to join, and each of the startup joining the program will get the support financially from Arcadis, as well as the access to industry SMEs and also client resources with our program. So, and the next slide, please. And on this slide, you can see the 10 companies, the 10 startups joined our program in 2019, which is the first year of that program, and this year we're going to have the 3rd run of this incubation program within Arcadis. And I know there are many startups here today, so if you're interested, please check it out, see if that's something you would like to get supports and you'd like to join, and if so, feel free to contact me offline. And with all these 10 startups every year, we are able to get access to the newest trends in the market, as well as the talents externally to our organization. And with the additional skill sets and knowledge from the startups, we will be able to learn the skills and also grow our own digital capabilities quickly, as well as we are helping the startups to grow, as sometimes they don't have the experiences in the built environment or in smart cities, but with very strong tech knowledge. So it's a win-win situation for both Arcadis and the startups. Next slide, please. And next, I want to give a shout out to one of the new division within Arcadis. It's called Arcadis Gen. So it's, as I mentioned, we are a design and consulting firm, and the core business of us is to provide consulting services to clients. And Arcadis Gen is operating in a completely different business model. So it's running as a SaaS company, and it's developing software can be used for natural and built assets, from planning to delivery to operate and maintain. However, it's not consulting service, but developing product and providing the product for clients. And personally, I have used some of the tool from Arcadis Gen. For instance, Enterprise Decision Analytics is a fantastic tool to help clients to plan the limited resources. So for instance, if we have limited funding budget, but we have 10, 20 different projects that we want to pursue, so which to prioritize, and if we are not doing certain tasks, what are the risks associated with it, and if we're doing, what's the benefit associated with it. So with this tool, you would be able to optimize the limited resource to pursue the max benefits or minimize the risks. So yeah, if you're interested, please check out on our Arcadis Gen website. You will find interesting tools to play around. And next slide, please. And this is the final slide I have. It's about our digital journey program called Expedition DNA. So for a big international firm like Arcadis, digital transformation is not just to hire a team of 20 or 30 who can code, who can develop platform or tools. We also need to bring all the 27,000 employees along the journey, and this is the program for that purpose. So Expedition DNA is a training program that for each individual within the company to grow to a certain level of digital literacy. So not all of us need to understand how to code, but we need to understand what does digital mean, how can we leverage all the digital innovations out there in the market from, for instance, from startups, from our ecosystem partners, how can we use those to optimize to make our work more efficient. And this program has been very successful, and every year we are adding more modules to it. It has like machine learning modules, it has data analytics, it has BEAM and sustainability, etc., etc. And now we have also external parties interested in this training program. We are also providing this digital training journey to our clients to help their organization to go through the same transformation journey. And I'm very proud here to share that I personally participated in this, and also I'm the champion to invite our colleagues to participate in. And this is a great experience for us to get access to the industry knowledge. And to wrap up, we are always welcome to like innovative ideas from talents from startups environment, and we're always interested in partnering with ecosystem partners as well as our clients to envision what's the next generation innovation and what does it mean for smart city. So if you are interested in our company and interested in what we're doing, please reach out. I'm happy to answer questions if there's any. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Yuan, for your presentation. I'm now glad to welcome Rikesh, who will present Transport for London. The company was established in 2000 as the integrated body responsible for London's transport system. So Rikesh, over to you.
Yep, thank you. Firstly, apologies for my picture. Clearly, that's what my press office found. Right, so I'm Rikesh Shah, Head of Commercial Innovation at Transport for London, and I also sit on the Mayor of London's Smart London Board. And actually, the notion of smart is quite an interesting one, because we'll all have different definitions of what we mean by a smart city. So that's an interesting debate in its own right, which obviously we don't have time for today. Moving on to the next slide. Just to give you an overview of Transport for London, pre-COVID, we're responsible for about 31 million trips every day in the City of London. London is one of the few mega cities in the world, and it's probably the largest city in Europe. And as a result, pre-COVID, we had 7 million trips on the bus network every day. It was about 5 million on the tube network. We also carry people on the Docklands Light Railway, the London Tram service, the London Overground service, and various other modes too. We're also responsible for the strategic roads in London. So it's called the Transport for London Road Network. That carries 33% of London's traffic. London has 33 different highways agencies across the city. So from a governance point of view, it can be quite confusing. I think if I was to describe TfL, there's probably 3 or 4 things that we do. We either procure things, i.e. the bus network is run by operators. We either operate and the tube service is managed end to end. We also play a strong influencing role. So whether it's policy around cycling, road safety and other elements, we have a key role. And also quite often we're a commercial entity too. So we're one of the largest landowners in London. We also have one of the largest out-of-home advertising contracts. So more and more now we're thinking about commercial revenue, particularly as the drastic impact we've had from the pandemic, which has affected the fares box significantly, which has created a budget deficit. Next slide, please. So this is a number that we talk about all the time within London, or certainly at Transport for London, and that is we want 80% of trips in London to be made by walking, cycling or public transit. So what this means is we want a healthier London, we want healthier streets, you know, challenges like air quality and sustainability are important agenda items. Obesity and type 2 diabetes, because people aren't active enough, is also a challenge. And also, tragically, in 2019, we had 125 deaths on London's road network owing to collisions. So again, we want to get that to Vision Zero. The second area is around creating more jobs and economic hubs, and we recognise the role transport plays within that, whether it's us as a landowner or whether it's us as moving people from A to B. And again, particularly post-pandemic, it's really important to think about the role of transport going forward. And thirdly, it's also about providing a good alternative. What we're seeing in many urban environments is a car-based recovery taking place. And what we have to ensure is, as part of the recovery from the pandemic, is we're focusing on people using active forms of transport or using public transport. So it's essential that you provide a good alternative, because if you don't, the easier option becomes the car. So that's a challenge we're grappling with now. Next slide, please. So anything we do, it's not about necessarily what we want, it's about what our customers want. And it's important that I use the word customer. I don't say users, I don't say passengers. We treat our end users exactly the same as you'd expect John Lewis, eBay or Amazon or any other large entity to do. We cannot survive without customers, and that's clearly been recognised in the last few months with the impact on the fares box. So our customers are the ones that drive what they're after, and they're after 3 main things. I think the first thing they want is they want reliability, safety and security on every journey. So every journey matters, whether you're going to the hospital, to the school or to work. The second thing customers want is they want value for money. They want to make sure that if they're using public transit or walking or cycling, they're getting value in what they're carrying out. So that's really important. And the third thing they're after is they want progress and innovation. So they're challenging us as to be more progressive and innovative, not just for the transport environment, but the whole of London. So they're very proud of seeing some of the innovations that come through our city. Next slide, please. So London has a strong history of innovation. 2 examples here are the first metro service in the world was developed near Baker Street, near Paddington Station in 1863, under the brainchild of Charles Pearson. And on the right hand side, you can see a picture of the first traffic lights outside of the Houses of Parliament to smooth the traffic flow and reduce congestion. So for the past 150 years, London Transport or its predecessor organisations have focused on innovation and bringing new ways of thinking into the city. Next slide, please. So if we were to bring that to the modern day, whether it's contactless ticketing, where London is one of the largest merchants in Europe when it comes to smart ticketing or contactless ticketing, or whether it's some of the engineering feats we've seen on the Victoria line, where during an upgrade, we see 36 trains each way during the peak, which is as good as anywhere in the world. And that's not a new line, that's an upgrade to a traditional line. And then also open data. So by us releasing our data, we're seeing incredible value, where over 700 apps are powered by TfL data. 42% of Londoners use an app powered by TfL. So you can see the impact that it's having. We carried out an independent study, and the worth is about 130 million pounds per annum of us releasing our data and the value to the city. Next slide, please. So if we could do it with data, our view is that there's an incredible, brilliant ecosystem out there of corporates, accelerators, academia, startups, scale-ups, etc. And many of you will be on this call. In fact, I recognize a couple of you. And what our job is here is to act as a curator. So how do we ensure that we can work with these various partners to make our city better? Because traditionally, either we've tried to invent everything ourselves as a authority, or we've tried to procure the innovation by being really prescriptive on what we want. And my challenge to my organisation is there are some brilliant brains out there. Let's use them to make our city better. Next slide, please. So here's some examples of some things that we've done. We run a series of innovation challenges, just building on my colleague's point from Arcadis. So we ran London Road Lab. This one was where we issued a set of problem statements. Then what we did was we ran 9 proof of concepts. We had hundreds of responses. We narrowed that down to 9. And then with 9, we provided funding of £30,000, sorry. But we also provided subject matter expertise, and we also provided access to our asset. And it was all around reducing the adverse impact of roadworks. And just recently, I'm delighted to say we've just onboarded 2 providers where the contract is worth a significant amount. And we'll be announcing that in a press story very soon. But the point there being is you started with a problem statement, you did some R&D and innovation for over 10 weeks, and we've developed a business case, and now we're scaling. So we did that through the Innovative Partnerships procedure. And we're doing similar things with the Bus Safety Challenge and London Freight Lab, and there are a series of other challenges that we're running. Next slide, please. We also partner with corporates. So TfL has a large supply chain, and that means that we're putting more pressure on our suppliers to be innovative. We just don't want the innovation that come from in-house within the supplier. We also want them to start building their ecosystems. So we're working with them, and this is an example of Bosch, who set up a mobility connectory in London, and that hosted a series of startups, and they worked on our problem statements. And I'll give you a couple of examples in a second. Next slide, please. So here's one of the examples. This is to do with air quality, and essentially the hypothesis was if you hold traffic back from densely populated areas and then it smoothly flows through a densely populated area, does it reduce the exposure to bad air? And we did this with Bosch. Air quality is incredibly complicated. I've certainly, or my team certainly realised that in the last year, where there are so many variables that dictate whether you'll be exposed to bad air or not. But they did some really good modelling, some really good data capture, and as a result, we're building some real evidence around whether this type of modelling could work at other similar locations across London. But the headline at the moment is it has worked. It reduced exposure to bad air by a significant percentage. And if we can do the same in other areas, it could have a significant impact on people's health. Next slide, please. And similarly, in the same location, we're starting to look at the role of computer vision and AI, and if that helps us better risk profile the likelihood of an incident taking place based on risky behaviour taking place at that same junction. So rather than us investing millions on engineering based on something that's happened and then responding to it, what we're trying to do is better risk profile and understand it with lots of data, and then make the right intervention. And if that intervention doesn't work, try something else. So this gives us a little bit more flexibility. But again, it's complicated stuff. There was a lot of deep learning involved with this, where quite often we're finding that 2 cyclists together equates to a car on the system, or how do you geofence an area or geolocate an area. So there's lots of learnings for us, which we're still working through. Next slide, please. This was to do with COVID. So within a few weeks, London was asked to establish a hospital. Moving doctors to and from the hospital and to the hotels was critical. And that meant providing a new bus service, providing real-time information, knowing where the bus is, and making sure that doctors and nurses are kept safe. So there was a massive technical challenge to address, and this was done in a matter of weeks. So it shows when you have a crisis, you can be agile and nimble. Even the public sector can. Next slide, please. And we've just launched, I'm delighted to say, in London, an e-scooter trial for 12 months. And we have a couple of elements. Of course, the This is all about safety. So we've set out specs that focuses on safety with the 3 operators, but also we've developed what you'd call a digital twin or whatever you want to call it. But this helps us recognize in real time what's going on our network across London, so we can intervene where we need to, or we could ask your operator to intervene. So again, it's important to start thinking about new technologies and how it can add value to our city. Next slide, please. And then beyond that, we also now need to think about roads. My team's procuring solutions and infrastructure solutions that will be around for 10, 15, 20 years. How do we talk to the market with the likes of Michael, who I can see on the call, to understand how can smart technologies help us design our infrastructure of the future? So what we're not doing is retrofitting or reprocuring. Instead, what we're doing is we're buying it once, but we're upgrading in a much more modular manner, so we can keep up with the technology that's out in the market in the future and helps us solve the problems that we have as a city. And examples could be, how do we deal with connected autonomous vehicles in 10, 15 years? How do we enable connectivity between our infrastructure and vehicles, etc., etc. Next slide, please. And that's it. So I was asked to be tight on my timings. I was asked to do it in 10 minutes. So that's 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rikesh, for your presentation. Very clear. We will now start the startup use case presentations with Michael, who will present Valerann. Valerann develops a wireless sensory IoT system that's integrated into the road, providing information about everything that occurs on the road, from traffic flow to hazards and road conditions. Michael, it's over to you.
Great, thank you. I hope you all can hear me and see me. This is going to be a bit of a challenge because for some reason I'm not able to see the slides being played, but I think I understand that everybody else can see them. So I'm just going to hope that I'm aligned with the slide that you all see. In any case, I'm Michael. I'm one of the co-founders of Valerann. At Valerann, we try and make roads smart. Next slide, please. So our vision, the title of this slide, is to become what we call the operating system of roads. We try to help road operators, TfL being a great example, to make better use of the data by fusing them in a more meaningful way to help them maintain their position as a central player within the transport ecosystem. The reason we think this is so important, next slide please, is because roads on the one hand, they're the largest infrastructure on earth, and a few examples we heard before, we saw how important they are to the economic activity of our day-to-day life, but at the same time, they are the cause of massive losses, both in life, in time, in money. And specifically, the research has shown that today 20% of congestion is preventable, 31% of fatalities is potentially avoidable, and 35% of accidents could be reduced simply by having better access to the right data at the right time by the right people. And basically collecting, analyzing, sorting, and then sharing this information is what Valerann is trying to do. So next slide, please. So this slide, hopefully that what you see is the Valerann Smart Road System. And basically what we're trying to do is help roads, starting with toll roads and highways, but all roads, increase their safety, flow, and profitability by providing an integrated instant detection, validation, and response system that helps them understand from all the relevant data sources what is happening, where is it happening, and how they can manage it in real time. So we'll skip quickly, I think, to the demo. So if you can please skip actually 2 slides to the video. And please just let me know when you've clicked play so I can try and time my voice to this.
Yep, it's playing there.
Okay, great. So what you can see in front of you is our interface. So the first thing, this is Ayalon motorway. It's going 30 kilometers from north to south. On this, and on the left of that, you see what we call our instant engine, which we'll go through in a second. Now, this system, it basically streams, stores, analyzes, and displays data from multiple data sources. So you see, first of all, data on the road itself from sensors that are deployed along the road, such as loops, radars, giving you real-time congestion monitoring. You get data from open sources like Mapbox, Google Maps, and here for the feeder roads, the We get all data from all the different sources, giving us a real-time location data for incidents, allowing us to understand where they are and allowing us to, based on that, decide where we want to investigate. We have information given us from all the cameras, both along the roads and from additional roads that are feeding in, that we can instantly access, both just for viewing, but later we'll see how we also apply machine vision to that. Now, on the left that we saw, we have this. We have an instant engine that takes instance from all the different sources, such as ways, navigation centers, cameras, etc. So here we have an example of Valerann's own machine vision applied to a camera. So the first thing you get is the location. You get two videos: an event video that's showing you a loop of that actual event, and a live video. So what you see in front of you is at around second 40 of the video, we have the event, and this loop video is around it. You see a vehicle coming to the hard shoulder, coming to a complete stop, and then and that basically allows you to understand that something has happened. But then you look at the live video and you can see, oh, actually that vehicle is no longer there, so you know you don't need to respond to that. And once you have that, you can decide if you want to progress it or resolve this incident, and that allows you to look at all your events in monitoring, so at any time the road operator knows what's happening across their entire network. And if you need to go into further detail, what we're able to do is to actually extract from different sensors that people provide us or redeploy the exact location of every single vehicle on the road, down to the meter and the lane level. And what that allows you to do is to estimate the impact of different events on traffic flow and how traffic flow in one area may impact something else. So for example, an exit can show you whether or not this is a congested area that is going to become more congested with time. So that is our system at a high level. That is what you kind of saw in front of you. This is one road, except the road in Israel. We have roads also in Spain. We're doing also pilot projects in the UK, in France, in the US, and that is what in general Valerann does. Our hope is to make the road operators again a unifying body for a data player and a unifying body for the transport ecosystem through them. So enabling them to enable the rest of the players, enabling connected vehicles, smart autonomy, and better journeys for us. Because as TfL like to say, every journey matters. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michael, for your presentation. I hope it wasn't too difficult with the slight tech problem there, but it went well from our side anyway, so all good.
Good. That's what matters. Great.
Will now present Enerbrain, an Italian startup that has developed a scalable plug-and-play IoT solution for HVAC systems, able to optimize buildings' energy performance and indoor comfort conditions while enabling remote real-time control. So, Philip, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. I actually am lucky because I see the slides, so all good from my side. So thank you very much. And Enerbrain is a company that was born specifically to help organizations to control data in buildings, but specifically to reduce pollution. And as mentioned, probably I like the introduction that has been made because I also agree smart city is an abused word. I like a lot the word of the definition that has been given by Carlo Ratti, a professor at the MIT, who was saying it's actually a sensible city. We have a lot of data. The city has sensors, but we need to use them in a good way. To make the best out of it. So this is why we were born, to use better the data, and we developed an artificial intelligence algorithm to control heating, cooling, and ventilation in buildings. If you go to the next slides very quickly, imagine yourself to be an occupant of a building. So when you go to an overground train station, for example, we can use that example. As an occupant, you want better comfort, better air quality, you want to feel good, but you don't have any control. And if you click, the control is on facility managers. At the same time, they have to fight on a daily basis with BMS, building management system, and very complex ecosystem to deliver that air quality and to fight with complaints. But at the same time, if you click, there is the asset owner, so who owns the infrastructure, which not necessarily have the same goals. And at the end, obviously, we use energy, and energy is provided by utilities, which have different goals as well. So in this very complex ecosystem, what do? We help all of these stakeholders. In the next slide, there is a sort of schematic that shows what we do. On one side, we get all the data. We monitor the buildings. So we monitor temperature, humidity, CO2 level, occupation, flow of people, etc. We process all of this data with very advanced artificial intelligence to be able to control the building better in real time. The end goal is clearly to give to the customer better control, but specifically better air quality and, of course, energy savings. If you go to the next slide, this is just an example. We can collect all the data from existing buildings, from existing sensors, but we can also add more granularity thanks to additional technologies that we developed to be faster in doing installation and more scalable. We are compatible virtually with any building asset. In the next slide, there is an example of an actuator. I don't want to go too technical, but imagine that we can connect and tap into any existing heating, cooling, or ventilation system. In the next slide, you can see why customers, they purchase our solution. In the next slide, not having the control is not easy. Next one after, sorry. Yeah. So mainly the customers purchase our solution because we deliver savings. So the automatic algorithm is able to deliver comfort right in time, following a lot of different patterns. So, for example, using weather forecast or forecast of congestions in the flow of people. We obtain roughly between 20 and 40% of energy savings compatible with any building. And one-day installation is a bit of a provocation, but we've done installation in public schools in 4 or 5 hours, or in large skyscrapers or large factories, maybe in 3-4 days. We're talking about days, not weeks or not months. In the next slides, you will see some of our customers. As mentioned, we work from small public schools, shopping malls, supermarkets, all the way to large factories and large skyscrapers. But I wanted to give you some examples, real cases and real examples. In the next slide, you will see our operations across Europe, mainly in the Middle East. We're now expanding in Asia. If you go to the next slides, you will see one specific example which we're pretty proud of. This is our hometown, where we're based in Torino, in North Italy, where we've applied the technology on around 100 public buildings. They are mainly schools or recreational spaces and public offices, where we have deployed the solution in 20 working days, so very, very fast deployment. And since then, the city is saving over 20% of energy on the heating system of all of these buildings. It's from nerd people, it's actually interesting to witness the algorithm working, because every building behaves slightly differently according to obviously occupation, patterns, usage, etc. And all of this is done automatically by the algorithm. In the next slide is an example that may be more relevant for the transport of London. Our technology can be deployed virtually in any type of building. This is an example in Dubai, where the transport of the Transport Authority of Dubai has selected our technology to reduce the cost of ventilation and air conditioning, in that case, of the train stations, the overground train stations. In the next slide is an interesting example in a similar application in Austria, where OBB has selected our technology in some train stations and in their headquarters. In this case, for example, you have a very advanced Siemens system to control and to manage the ecosystem of this building. And we basically added our technology as a plugin to the existing BMS, controlling it better, crunching the data from the cloud. In the next slide, I have very limited time, but very quickly, COVID obviously was a big impact in all of our lives. But for us was also an opportunity in a way, because finally people are realizing how important is air quality. And we can measure and control air quality in buildings, ensuring that the building air system works in the best way, using the minimum amount of energy to deliver the best air quality. And Italy was one of the first countries in lockdown. So we learned that the hard way, I would say. We started doing remote installations. So now we can do a remote installation without leaving our home. And we have done installations in Norway, in Estonia, in Dubai, in Germany, and so on. Just deploying the package of kit of sensors and actuators and just activating the algorithm remotely. Next slide, please. I guess I just end with this very, very quickly. What is the future? Because this is the present, but I think what is more interesting is the future. Cities are ecosystems, and on the right-hand side, you would see a bubble, let's say, which is in a building controlled by an Enerbrain system. So where the algorithm is controlling in real time all the elements. But each building, each station of a train ecosystem, or each building in a city is part of an ecosystem that use energy. And we are working actively on a solution of demand response that is able basically to coordinate the flow of energy between buildings automatically with the algorithm, so that each building will become a virtual power plant able to sell and purchase energy in real time, using less energy when it's more expensive, and providing energy to the other buildings where it's necessary. So this is all about us. We'll be very happy to explore opportunities together. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Filippo, for your presentation and your very concrete examples. So now I will give the floor to Josh, who will present Metrikus. Metrikus gathers information from building systems and other sensors to help customers understand their buildings in areas including asset maintenance, space utilisation, and the health of a building's physical environment. Josh, I give it over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, bonjour à tous. I'm Josh McEnany, and as the Workplace Technology Advisor, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Metrikus. So smart cities are often conceived of this complex interconnection of different building systems designed at making the built environment more intelligent. This means that smart buildings form essential building blocks for these smart cities. But how exactly do they fit into the picture? Yes, there's the need for automation to make our lives easier, but there's also the need for technology. And we need to look at how technology is used and managed. And for us to understand this, we need data. Next slide, please. Data is everywhere. There are thousands of sensors that measure various different data points, and there's so much information out there, just waiting to be harnessed in the right way. However, the one big challenge that we have is data silos. Companies have huge amounts of data available to them, but it's often scattered in legacy systems or other isolated silos. We need to be able to find and integrate all of this data to really use it to its full potential. Next slide, please. So what if there was one platform to unlock the power behind all of this data? Let us show you with a quick demo. Next slide, please.
Big data leads to great decisions. With Metrikus, we help you understand your real estate like never before. Metrikus is the innovative and unique software platform that optimizes your building's environment, maintenance, usage, and health. Metrikus creates a virtual ecosystem for your real estate. We map, measure, and organize data from your building's sensors, assets, and places into a single dashboard. We focus on saving time, money, and increasing productivity. Our tailored solution offers vital insights into 4 key areas: critical asset maintenance, space utilization, visual asset registry, and the health of your building's environment. Building management is not just maps, paper, and manual counting anymore. It's dashboards, in-depth analytics, and key management information, all in real time and all at the touch of a button. Contact us today to book a demo and find out more. Connect, respond, transform.
So we have a lot of solutions because buildings have a lot of problems, and often there's more than one use case. So here on the left, you can see the various different companies that we work with. Some are hardware partners, some are legacy systems. And what we do is we can pull or push data to be able to work towards our clients' needs. So some might want to visualize their data in dashboards. Others might want that API to be able to push to their own platform. Whatever it is that the customer wants, we work with them to suit their needs. Next slide, please. So with so many solutions, we also have a lot of different case studies. So in the interest of time, I'm going to make this one topical. So the COVID-19 pandemic has caused this new revitalization within the building industry. And people are focused on making it more flexible, improving the wellness and health and well-being of their staff, but also making it more collaborative. So we worked with a really large investment bank to look at how we could optimize their space and bring them back an increased investment. So what we did is, based on manual headcounts, we were able to install various different sensors. We deployed these within 1 week. After 10 days, we were able to see that they only had 33% peak occupancy within their building. We then stress tested this with additional employees, and we saw that their peak occupancy was only 44%. Based on an investment of under £7,000 and a return of £570,000, we were able to produce an ROI of 98%. Next slide, please. So we have many different use cases, and unfortunately we don't have much time today, but if you'd like to get in touch, then here are my contact details. Et si vous voulez, en français, je suis là pour vous accueillir aussi. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Josh, for your presentation and for introducing us to Metrikus. Mahesh will now present Aquasight, a company which provides real-time performance data and advisory platforms for water and wastewater utilities through a data mining system. Mahesh, over to you.
Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon. Good morning for those in the US. What Aquasight does is digital water management in smart cities. So in general, as you know, you can't talk about smart city without not talking about water. Most of the presentations prior to me talked about data and how to leverage data. So we will share with you the platform that we deployed over 100 sites within the US primarily. So let me walk you through what the challenge is. Go to the next slide, please. Without adding any more additional sensors in any one of these municipal water systems, you still have daily terabytes of information that they're creating through SCADA systems, design systems, meter consumption, lab, on and on. Surprisingly, not much is being done to mine this information. They're being primarily used, for example, for billing or for controlling, but really not to detect where the efficiency opportunities are, where the blind spot's going to be, where the risks exist, and so on. So go to the next slide. So what we have done at Aquasight is created industry-first digital AI infrastructure specifically related to water. From being able to take data ingestion from any one of these source systems, and every city has its own source systems that you can connect to managing this information, the velocity and the volume of data, especially its time series, can be dirty and messy. How do you manage it? How do you clean it up? To an AI engine that processes this information, we are creating 3 to 4 times more intelligence than what we are actually getting inside our system. So we're generators of new insights that doesn't exist today. And then ultimately putting this in the form of pre-built apps that utility operators can use anytime, anywhere. In addition, we have the concept of digital buddy. Nobody has the time to look at an app continuously. So the digital buddy, which doesn't need healthcare, never retires, never goes sick, right? And is able to identify and look for events so you can manage by exception. So everything in that red box is the infrastructure that Aquasight has built. If you go to the next slide. So on top of that, we created very specific 6 solutions that caters to the entire water cycle, from treatment to water distribution, to water collection, to wastewater treatment, and obviously the planning of the entire assets. More recently, we also have come up with an innovation that detects COVID-19 or any infectious disease underground. We all know COVID-19 through clinical cases, but our system is able to detect up to a week in advance. So all of these solutions are plug and play, number one, can connect to any city, and they're common across cities. So for example, if City of Boston is utilizing a solution, a small town has the same solution, but it scales. So because of that, all the cities get the benefit of economies of scale and yet the best features that they can possibly get without not independently investing in these solutions. Go to the next slide. As I mentioned early on, there's 100+ sites. Our solutions have been deployed. We are scaling anywhere from 25,000 residents to 4 million residents. And the benefits that we have seen our customers have received is from energy efficiency, for example, between 10 and 40%, chemical and gas efficiencies, 10 to 25%, able to manage inflow and infiltration or predict water quality, which part of the city is going to have water quality issues, intelligence about which pumps are going to fail, which blowers are degrading, which pipes are at risk, retaining knowledge. Most of this industry is at the cusp of a lot of retirements. So how do you capture this knowledge on how the system behaves and works? And finally, able to prioritize capital on where to invest and where to put the precious dollars. So these are the benefits that our customers have received and seen. Go to the next slide. So there are 4 use cases I would like to demonstrate to you today. And what I'd like to do is show it to you live because everything we do is in real time for the most part, from predicting water quality by utilizing the information that they already have from a compliance purposes, able to detect which homes are leaking more by utilizing the smart meter data, allowing for optimal wastewater treatment operations and also early warning. So I'll try to see if I can get 3 or 4 of these use cases. Hopefully it'll work. So can I share the screen?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So let me see if I can go in here. Let me go into one of our solutions, which is detecting water quality, predicting water quality. So this is we have over 70 cities that are all on the system, but these are all the areas where sampling occurs or water quality is sampled. And by using the algorithm that we deployed across all these cities, we're able to detect a week, 2 weeks in advance, where is the high likelihood that the water quality is going to be bad. How they use it then is to be able to use that insight to be able to go flush in that part of the city. So that way the water age and water is cycling and the water age is reduced. So that is one specific use case. Another use case is to able to see in-home leak detections, which homes have, and this is an algorithm that would auto calculate which homes are likely to have a leaky toilets or are showing anomalous consumptions. Let me see if I can pull it up. And so the algorithm detects top 10, you can detect top 20 meters, and it will highlight that this is a residence that had no consumption. All of a sudden, it has a massive cubic feet of consumption going on. So what they would do, this is something that used to be done every month, but now it's happening every day. So from a customer point of view, they're able to reduce the water bills and also in fact, many of our customers are sending letters to the city thanking them for detecting leaks much earlier than they are. So that's a second use case. Third use case is we go into a wastewater treatment plant about 3,000 miles from here. And what in this treatment plant is there is a smart advice that guides how much air that needed to be supplied. So in this case, currently they're supplying 5,200 SCFM, but the system, the smart advisor, saying you only need 4,000 SCFM, which essentially means it's energy savings. And this city has done an amazing job. You know, from the time we started, there was a $17,000 difference every month to down to almost $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 difference. So they're saving over close to $10,000 a month with this system. Now, even a new operator who is running the system can utilize this advice. As you can see, it just changed. So there's probably a rise. This advice comes every 15-20 minutes. And then finally, I want to share with you a case study on how we detected COVID-19 underground. So this is a township with 7 different locations of sampling put under the ground. And we're able to see, we had a huge jump in COVID cases around March, April timeframe, and we were able to see at least 2-3 weeks in advance that the COVID was rising. And obviously the good news for us is this is the impact of vaccination. That is because as a result of this, there's very limited COVID we're detecting underground. So the public health officials can now utilize this underground intelligence to determine where they can vaccinate, determine where they should isolate, do contact tracing, etc. And now we are monitoring over 45 different points in 1,000 square miles here. So that's a real-time and real-life demos. That's the end of Aquasight presentation. Turn it back to you.
Thanks so much for your presentation. And so thanks a lot to all our guests for a very complete introduction to Arcadis and Transport for London, and thanks to all our startups for their presentations as well. Our next talk will take place on the 29th of September and will be focused on digital construction. The following one, dedicated to Industry 4.0, will take place in November. Please take 2 minutes after the session to answer a quick survey to help us improve, and if you want to be put in touch with any of our featured speakers. If you have any questions, now is the time. Don't hesitate to activate your microphone. If anyone has any questions. If nobody has any questions for the minute, we can just say thanks a lot for today, and we will see you all in September for our 12th edition of Impulse Talks, a digital and low carbon future. Thanks all everyone for your participation. See you next time.